Okay, welcome everyone to the regular Village Council meeting on Monday, June 9th, 2020. And we're having the meeting via Zoom because of the pandemic. And we could actually fit all our counselors perhaps in the chambers, but we wouldn't really have enough spacing to allow for the public. And this is a better way to invite the public to join us, and it's recorded. So we have record of attendance on the agenda, and then the next item is disclosures of conflicts of interest. So does anyone have anything to disclose at this time? It would appear not. So then we will look at the minutes that you received by email for the meeting on May 11th. And then we had a committee meeting on May 25th. Would I have a motion to adopt these minutes? Paul, I see. And Sheila, seconder. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes from May 11th and May 25th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. The hand waving is one thing, but I can only see 5 of us at a time. And then by the time I look on the next panel, hands might be down. So if you're a nay, you're gonna have to really make yourself clear. All right, so next point on the agenda is number 4, delegations, and I see none. And now, 5, unfinished business. There's a fair bit of unfinished business. A is healthcare reform. Am I talking about that? Yeah. I've been contacted by the mayor of Sackville, who's got a lot of people in his community working on ideas and so on. And he sent a letter to the premier, and he did an editorial in the Telegraph Journal about looking at lessons learned from the pandemic in terms of healthcare. So the team that we had organized has not been active on research or problem solving because, well, for one thing, people have been busy dealing with the pandemic, and for another thing, we never got an answer to the questions that we were asking, which was what exact problems was the provincial government trying to solve with healthcare reforms. So all that said, there seems to be some interest in gathering the mayors of the 6 communities and the neighboring communities together to begin thinking about how to raise numerous issues to do with healthcare reform. And so we have scheduled a conference call for tomorrow morning. This is the same team that was meeting by phone in the times in February and early March when we were trying to put a stop to the reforms. So I'm not exactly sure what I'll be saying from our community. I'll be saying we haven't been going on with research because my team are all full-time working people, and we weren't really going to keep trying to solve problems if we were wanting to solve the wrong problem. So we'll see what opens up about that, but I would just ask if any counselor has anything that they would like to say about the whole topic of healthcare reform, and that any ideas that I should bring into my conference call tomorrow. Okay, so Dan, do you have anything that you want to say from what you've been reading and seeing?
I know it'd be interesting to see what the other regions have been up to, and I believe one of the RSC's has been extremely busy in the healthcare reform, so it'd be interesting to get some feedback from them tomorrow also.
We never really heard officially that the healthcare summit was canceled, but everything has been canceled. That was supposed to be in I think the 22nd, something like that, of June. But yeah, it's just it just collapsed, that whole movement, and nothing, that whole reform. And so it'll be interesting to have a conversation and see what we might do to try and be sure that we do the smartest things going forward with healthcare reform, and not bring out some tired old obsolete reform. Okay, so now we'll go on to 5B, the lottery startup. So Dan, what can you tell us about this?
Yeah, the fire lottery, along with the local Elks and Legion lottery, I guess finished their hiatus during the pandemic due to, I think, demand from their players and participants of wanting the lottos back. So I started up again, I guess 2 weeks ago. Right now, we're doing the at Squeakies and the Independent Grocery to buy your tickets. Right now, for Fireman's Law, the only two locations. Due to the change where we had 10 weeks where there wasn't any draws, carrying forward those dates to make sure there wasn't any confusion on that. So we're not doing any manual, or the fire department's not doing any manual tickets now. They're doing all computerized at those two locations. People were glad to see it started back up, and it's a good service for the community. And hopefully the donation committee will meet soon to give out the spring donations, I'm hoping. So the fire department has had a couple of minor issues with some of the supplier ticket locations that'll hopefully get resolved shortly. They've had a few internet issues with the internet provider there, so hopefully those bugs will get sorted out. But other than that, everything seems to be going well. They've had the last two draws successfully, and look forward to many more.
A question that I had was about the loss of revenue to the fire department over these, I guess you said 10 weeks that they didn't run the lotto. And I was wondering what about the impact of the loss of revenue on the fire department?
I guess it'd be basically their share of the 50-50 draw for that week. So you'd have to assume that it would be a significant impact to the fire department. Of course, the fire department's very lucky and that the community support as well as we have. And sure, the 10 weeks is a loss, but I think the fire department certainly appreciates everybody playing forward. And hopefully maybe more people will join now going forward. So don't forget to get your ticket if you haven't got one.
Now, did they have to put when they apply for their license what they're going to be spending the money on, but they don't have a strict budget that they're going to have any problems with, like not having, if they don't have the revenue that I mean, I guess they can never guarantee the revenue, right? People could buy more tickets or fewer tickets. So yeah. It's not, it probably, if it has a high or a low or a few weeks where it doesn't work, that doesn't really change anything about the regulations that they're operating under.
Correct. Yeah, the Fireman's Lotto it basically funds a lot of the capital purchases that the department has, and there are a lot of future purchases. It's not for the day-to-day operation of the department, so it shouldn't be any impact on that at all.
And if they had made a commitment to purchase something planning on the money, they just have to make an adjustment like all other kinds of organizations are making adjustments. I guess. Delivery
time, things like that, yes.
Anything anybody would like to say, ask, or comment about the fire lotto? Okay, good. We'll move on to 5C, COVID-19 updates. And I'm going to go on mute and let you talk, Dan.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess everyone's been, one thing about the updates is that everyone in the communities are pretty attuned to the news and what's going on. And I know some people religiously every day, 2:30, watch the provincial press announcement and stuff. A lot of students and adults alike have been doing it. So of course there's been updates to the federal program. And there's been a surveys done by UMB and the Administrators Association and Francophone Association regarding the financial impact on municipalities in New Brunswick. And the last numbers that I saw, it was an impact of just over $10 million to municipalities in New Brunswick. And I would suspect that over the summer, with the increased costs associated with running programs, that number will get significantly higher. So UMB has been working with the provincial government trying to, I guess, request more support for municipalities. So far, the federal government's announced that they will advance the gas tax funding. Now, that isn't any new funding for the municipality. It was already approved. But now, basically, instead of getting it over 5 years or 6 years, we'll get it, I guess, in our case, during the third year. So there's, it's not any additional funding. It's funding that the municipality is going to get anyways, but they're just going to give it a little bit to municipalities to help them deal with this. Of course, the pandemic has caused a lot of additional costs for a lot of communities. And every community is impacted differently. Like in our community, for example, what council decided to do with the support for businesses by lowering power rates, for example, that's a bigger financial hit to our community than some of the others. So So hopefully the federal government will continue to step up. I know they've got a pile of programs out there for students and businesses and renters and things like that. So hopefully everyone that has a need is getting addressed with somehow. The municipality, we're not getting a lot of requests directly regarding federal programs. People are taking those all straight to the federal government agencies, I assume. So that's what I had on the federal government portion of it.
Any comments or questions from councillors on that? Okay, continue on.
Yeah, I guess the provincial update. Again, unfortunately, the 9 new cases today are the big headline. Unfortunately, I believe 8 of them were in the care home. Very sad results today. The province has moved to the rest of the yellow phase, or another significant part of the yellow phase, which I have more information later on to cover over. One thing the government did step back on from our announcements last week, or EMO or COVID update last Friday, they stepped back on the face covering announcement where they were requiring people to enter any public building effective tomorrow. Just so everyone knows that did get stepped back to the previous policy on that. So, I guess I'll go over more if anyone has any questions on that. I've got more in our presentation on the yellow phase and how it impacts the municipality.
I think you can go on. It looks like everybody's happy with this.
Okay. Get my screen sorted around here. Same one. Okay. Okay, here we go. This is sort of what we've been working on for all of our different programs and facilities. When we talk about starting things back up, of course, the safety of staff and our residents are extremely important. It's a huge safety concern and responsibility for council and our staff to make sure that any reopening is done safely. Of course, we all want to reopen everything, and we all want to get back to normal the best we can with all things considered. We're seeing quite a range in the community and from participants about the range of what their thoughts are on the pandemic. Some people seem to have the view that it's not a significant issue. No one here has it. We should just be doing things as normal. To the other end of the extreme, that people are concerned that the person next to them may have it. I think as Dr. Russell pointed out, that's maybe what we should be planning and doing our interactions around, assuming that someone does have it. And of course, the level of planning for this for the municipality is facility screening, things like washroom access, disinfection, physical distancing, face covering, contact tracing, staff training, PPE, liability, etc. So there are a lot of moving parts to opening our programs and facilities back up, and we have to make sure that we do it right. So basically, during the yellow phase of recovery, the friends and family bubble has been expanded. Outdoor gatherings with physical distancing of fewer or more are allowed to take outdoors. Religious services, 50 or fewer, can take place indoors or outdoors with physical distancing. Increase in elective surgeries and non-emergency healthcare services, and non-regulated professionals and businesses starting back up. But, personal services and businesses, gyms, yoga and dance studios, which is swimming pool, saunas, and water parks, of course, the swimming pool for us, indoor rec facilities, pool halls, low contact team sports also would apply to the municipality. So we looked at sort of the different sections in this, the playground, the province, the guideline on this is basically just post signage stating that the equipment is not cleaned and sanitized. Public should use at their own risk. And the cleaning and sanitizing frequencies are not being prescribed at this time. So what we're looking at is cleaning structures twice daily, and make sure that the users are encouraged to disinfect themselves and that the parks unsanitized for their own safety. So we see the risk level to this as being moderate to playgrounds. Part of the issue of concern we have is that by putting the marking tape around the playgrounds, the kids are basically using them anyways. So we might as well open them up and post them that they are open, but to make everyone aware that they are not sanitized, and their users should take all precautions. And so that was on the, and I have a summary at the end of all the different recommendations around the different facilities and programs.
I just have to ask about that one thing though there, Dan. They're not saying that you install hand sanitizer, right? People would be asking, bring your own hand sanitizer and wash before you come and wash when you go home, all that sort of thing. We're not setting up hand sanitizer station at a playground, right?
No, yeah, that's not our plan right now, but we are looking at the option of doing it, for example, at the playgrounds, potentially having a dispenser there at say the tennis courts, basketball courts, things like that, looking at that as an option. And again, without detailed guidelines from the province, everybody's sort of making up their own plan.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, the tennis courts, we feel that those could be started back up. Again, we may look at all of our facilities doing some type of registration, book online, or send us an email for use, things like that. Although the tennis courts haven't been getting a lot of use, but this summer, a lot of the individual sports that you can do within your family bubble, cycling is getting a big return now. I guess to buy a bike in some areas, bike sales have doubled compared to last year in a lot of places. So the tennis courts will hopefully get used more this summer. Same thing with the basketball court. Part of we have to do operation plans for all these, and like the one for this, for example, games would not be permitted, but you can go shoot around and play a game of horse and things like that. But then it's all back to, these are recommendations for us. These courts aren't manned, they're staffed full time. So a lot of we'll provide the guidelines, but the users in these cases are going to have to respect them. The pools and splash pad, unfortunately, after numerous requests from numerous municipalities, the province is stated that they will not be developing guidelines for swimming pools. Now, this is extremely discouraging for us and for the other pool owners to have to create your own guidelines for swimming pools. The province issued more detailed guidelines for daycares, day camps, church services, things like that, very detailed guidelines. But for whatever reason with swimming pools, they're suggesting the communities are on their own. We estimate we'll only have a quarter to a third of the lessons enrollment. Of course, is basically the only revenue that the pool has. And then by limiting class size at the pool, we feel our instruction time, if we provide lessons, the instruction time will be the same as it would for the normal numbers depending on enrollment. And we talk about different systems in our plan, and there are other communities that have been working on operational plans for pools. So at some point, if council decides to go ahead, I guess we're not ready yet to make a recommendation of council to open. We sort of hope the province would have come up with detailed plans this week, and we could have brought that to council for consideration. So I guess what we'd hope to do in this one is just do further review and have it for council at our meeting in 2 weeks. And we'll still get the pool, I guess, cleaned and prepped. So if council decides to open, we can start putting water in it the next day after the council meeting and have it going and heat it up within a week. We should be open barring any unforeseen issues. So that's sort of where we're at with the pool. If anyone has any questions on that, I'd say I've got the summary down below with everything else. If people want to comment now or then, doesn't matter to me, whatever works. If anyone would like to dive in right now.
I think I'm going to ask somebody in the media to ask the Premier and Dr. Russell to talk about pool guidelines at their press conference, because if we have a hot summer, this is the first thing that a lot of people would want to do for fun. And I think we could push that. I saw the document today too that said there will be no guidelines on pools. And I think maybe we can agitate to get them to give us some guidelines so that we can be as reasonable as everybody else or whatever. I think you can continue.
Okay, soccer. With soccer, once we get the return to play policy for this sport, we provided that information to the survey. We sent it out to all the soccer families, and the survey results come back. Only 23% said that they would register in soccer this year. 54% said no, and 23% were unsure. Based on the guidelines for that, the no games and basically just practicing. So with that one, a recommendation based on interest of the public is not to open it. We're sort of hoping as time goes on, we can do these surveys with every group once we get information. We sort of hope we would have had more of this information a little bit quicker. We've also done a similar survey for baseball, and we sent out one today for co-ed softball. We were sort of hoping that once we get the pool guidelines that we could have sent that out to all of our pool users to get some feedback from them. So this is the feedback we have from our soccer families. And then the baseball families, 50% say that they were registered, 58 were unsure, 38 were unsure, and 12 would not register. But the problem we have with that is we had very poor response to the survey. I don't know as far as the quantity of numbers responding so far. And so based on that, we were tight last year to get teams in a lot of age groups. So if we only have half the kids that want to play, unfortunately, we couldn't field the team regardless. So unfortunately, it looks like baseball this year, it couldn't be offered due to lack of interest. It's too bad because last year was the first year that we had baseball back up and running, and it's too bad that this come along when it did. And as I mentioned, the co-ed softball. One of the issues that we have right now is that all of our facilities around the high school are not on municipal property. They're all on the provincial property. And right now, the province position is that their properties aren't available for community use. So we do have a request in to the Department of Ed to let us know when that policy changes. So having said that, we sent out the guidelines today to our softball teams to get some feedback from them on the interest of playing softball this year. So hopefully we'll have that information for council's next meeting in 2 weeks. And the Wednesday evening concert series, with this, when we did this presentation up, we have questions around the limit of 50 people and what that entails. We'd like to get those clarified before we move forward with things at the bandstand to make sure that we can do it safely. We had some questions around the limit of 50 people and what happens if more people show up? How do we enforce that and things like that? And can you have 50 people in cars and 50 people on the site, or can you have, just all that detail? So we'd like to get some more background information on that to make a better recommendation to council members. And same thing with the family night in the park. And we went back through and looked. Some of the things we do, we don't get more than 50 people at the bandstand events, but some things we do. So we end up with a bit of a different crowd. Some weeks we have an event with 30 people at it. The next week it may be 80. So I don't believe the family fun night, the movie night, attracted that many last year. But who knows this year with people looking for something to do, maybe the instead of the drive-in, the walk-ups would be popular. In the fitness center, we're still trying to address some things with that. Typically, our gym is set up, it's a members key card system. How that works, basically members have access to the building, I think basically 18 hours a day or something like that. And it's unmanned, they're unstaffed, I should say, during that time. So we're trying to figure out, well, how can we open that? And if we do, we'd have to ensure that we had staffing available to do that. Last year, we were fortunate we had a summer student on a grant that worked at the fitness center. This year, unfortunately, as I mentioned in our last meeting, the municipalities only received 2 summer students, one from the provincial government, one from the federal government so far this summer. Last year we had 14, so that's a huge impact on the number of students that we can put to work on those programs. So we'd have to look at that. We feel it can be staffed and monitored, but there's going to be some extra cost to the municipality. So we'd like to review that further to come back with a better plan on doing that. One thing we're looking at doing is people that one option may be for students that qualify for the volunteering for the federal program, that maybe we could do something where they got a free gym membership for the summer in exchange for volunteering and monitoring at the gym so many hours a week. So that's one option that we're looking at.
Dan, would you just tell us why staffing is needed when the usual system is that people come and go at their own risk? Is that to monitor that they're keeping a distance? Like, what about a use at your own risk sort of a thing? Why is staffing required?
Yeah, I believe it's probably due to due diligence, what other facilities are doing. With the fitness center, it's a bit different. That if with ours, with the key card system, if we end up with, say, if we limit the number to 6 and we have 10 people show up, and then if you have 6 of them there that really believe that COVID's a non-issue and they don't wipe the machine down before or after they use it, all kinds of issues like that. So it's more for security and supervision, and we want people to feel that when they do come to our facilities, that they can feel safe and come in and use it. Like, for example, the gym, what other places are doing, they're giving users that clean cloth and their own sanitizing bottle, and they're expected to sanitize everything before they use it and after they use it, and they monitor them to make sure they're physical distancing while they're in the facility. So that'd be the main reason we would recommend staffing.
Okay, good. That's a good answer. Sheila, you have something to say?
Yeah, I would feel more comfortable with that, and then also we can kind of keep a record of who's there, because we would have to have that, wouldn't we, for contact tracing?
Yes, that would be our intention too, to do the contact tracing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next one, the Adventures Center. What we look at there is just the office, so people weren't allowed in the actual office area. They'd still have access to the washrooms through the other entrance to the building. And we would do the counter, so to speak, outside on the covered porch for people to get service. And we'd only allow double-use boats to go out to rented family or friends, people in their current bubble, to be used. We provide all the signage and hand sanitizer, of course, but what we would do is after each use, allow time for basically pressure washing each kayak or boat, whatever was used, and sanitizing all the equipment. we leave time between rentals to cover that off. So we feel the Adventure Center is something where it's outdoors and open space, and a lot of it's individual kayak, paddleboard rentals that we can do that safely. And so this is, oh, go ahead, Sheila.
Yeah, on that, I checked with a couple people, and they said with your kayaks and even your life jackets, if they're sprayed with a mixture like a Lysol spray or some kind of spray and just set aside, then within 20 minutes, you have a couple sets going, and you'd have the ones that are on, and then as long as you sprayed them, and even the boats, they said, as long as you're doing a spray on them, and that they would be safe to be used again,
Yeah.
right off. So.
I think about ski hills when I've rented boots and I've rented helmets and all that stuff. And as far as I know, I could take it off and I could put it right on somebody else. So,
Yeah. Okay, so this is sort of just a summary of that we're recommending to open now. Like I mentioned, the two courts, the Adventure Center playgrounds, the tennis courts and basketball courts. Of course, as I mentioned, we have to get clarification from the schools where it's on their property. I believe it shouldn't be an issue for us. And the things that we need further research on, the pool splash bed. I get the results from the co-ed survey, co-ed softball survey, the fitness center, and then the events at the bandstand. We'd like to get that sorted out before the next council meeting. And the things so far recommended not to open are the soccer and baseball, mainly based on interest from the public, and of course the day camp for all the reasons we talked about before. So.
okay, so I'll ask any of the counselors if they've got comments or questions about these recommendations. I'll just say I of the things where there's further exploration needed, I'm guessing that the easiest things to move over to the recommend opening would be the last two, the concert series and the movie night. The other, the pool and the fitness center, I think, are going to be really difficult decisions. So, so you're making these recommendations, you and the staff are making these recommendations to the council, but we don't really need a motion. We just need to say, yep, that looks reasonable to us. Is that kind of how we proceed here?
That'd be great, Marianne, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to just ask if any counselor thinks that there's something else that needs to be said, or you question these recommendations, to raise your point now. Otherwise, we'll proceed as if the council supporting it. Cindy, are you wanting to say something? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Wednesday evening concert services, should go over, and the family movie night in the park should go over to the opening part. Like if they can do outside events, 50 or more or less, I'm sorry. But I mean, I'm sure that people would sit in their vehicles to listen also. Like, I don't think that's a serious thing.
Thank you, Cindy. I will say that for the church, I've called that toll-free number numerous times because there was a question, like the question that we were talking about does this mean you can have 50 people sitting outside and additional people in cars? Like, if that's not spelled out, the people on that toll-free number that you can call usually do have a ready answer for additional questions like that. I don't know if you guys have been taking advantage of that line or using more of the network of people, how other people are interpreting things, but that has been a useful number every time I've had to call it so far, and it's been 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and I think the main reason for us not recommending those two right now has just been lack of time to research them based on all the other things going on. We'll certainly get that information.
Well, there's no small amount of information to sort through, and these are really significant and potentially life or death decisions that we're making, so they can't be entered into lightly. Okay, I'm just looking to see if any counselors have anything else. I don't see anybody else with a hand up, so I'm going to assume that the council then is in agreement with these recommendations, and we'll look forward to hearing more recommendations at the next meeting, and as you and the staff gather more guidance on these things. So that's a lot of work, and we do appreciate the work of the staff trying to comply with the guidelines and keep people in our community safe, but still provide as much as we can for our community. So we appreciate that.
Oh, great. And just on that, we certainly, under the circumstances, want to encourage people to do other types of recreation also. Mountain biking, nature walks, use our trails in the community and things like that with your family. And then for our newsletter that we do each week, we have a lot of fun events and recreation activities for people to do other than the traditional ones. So maybe a chance this summer for people to try some things that they normally wouldn't do.
So I'm going to jump in here and say that the newsletter has been full of additional interesting and fun things to do, and I think it's really terrific. It's news, but there's also some neat, fun options that somebody has been hunting up and checking out, and I think it's terrific. And where you mentioned there about bicycling, so our adventure center sells or rents bicycles as well, right? And
Yes,
we didn't have a big uptake last summer, I believe, on the bicycle use, but maybe if that's catching on this summer, maybe we'll see a bit more use. We'll have to get those. I think I've talked about those things before. You know, those little things that look like you're standing on a vacuum, riding all around. Segways.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to see about that in a few years. But anyways, that's great work. And we'll, I believe, be able to move on now to the next section, which is 5D capital and special projects.
Okay, we've got a lot of these. I think I've got 3 slides full of them. So maybe to move things along, I'll just give an update on each slide, and if there's any questions after each one, people just feel free to ask. The boardwalk project, as you know, the council met with that. We've got I think the tender for the railing painting is almost done. We're just waiting for drawings on the detail for the sidewalk to do the thickened slab in the back, so that down the road, if we want to change the railing, that we can. So once we get those drawings, that detail, we'll get those out to tender. We're going to start on the I believe removing the curb later on this week. We went over last week and did a little test area there. Our fellows installing the docks, the marina last week. So hopefully we'll get moved over to that. We feel we can pull the curb up with our own. The only concern I have there is I want to sit down with Philip and our staff this week just to confirm our work schedule for the next 4 to 6 weeks, just to make sure that we can get everything done. If not, there may be some projects that we would look out to have a contractor help us out with. The court resurfacing, the tenders, Justine's got those all drafted up. Just waiting for me to take a look at them, and hopefully I'll get them sent out tonight, hopefully. I have a meeting scheduled there's a new gentleman looking after the chip seal of streets. We had 2 that were scheduled to be done this year. He's going to come to take a look at them with me to lay out the patchwork that needs to be done for those streets. And I believe that was Pickett Street and also Pond Street were leftover projects. The branding and webpage project, a lot of our projects between the municipality slowing down during the pandemic and businesses slowing down. This is one of those projects that did slow down, but they're back up and working on it now. They're preparing some of the draft concept work for the branding part of it, and also the webpage. I guess project is getting detailed, like the outline of what that project will entail. I was hoping to have something for tonight, but hopefully I'll have it later on in the week. So I guess that's sort of the brief update on those 4, if anyone has any questions on those.
I do.
Jason, go ahead.
I was walking the other night there, Dan, and looked at the end of the existing sidewalk right by the bridge and noticed that in the old spot there, they had interlocking bricks. And I know we talked about where and if we would put grass and all of that kind of talk about on that new section we were looking at. And knowing that the grass going up the hill took the salt pretty hardly over the winter there and doesn't seem to be coming back very good. I wondered if we even could look at that maybe too as a possibility in that space where we might have put grass, is maybe put interlocking brick in so that your concrete still would be less and not, you know, cracking as badly, but that it would not necessarily be grass in that space because it would probably not survive the salt too well. Just an idea.
Yeah, we've had, I guess, with those new grass areas, I don't know if you remember, Jason, when we did the one in Perth, the curve there, the second year after that, it took about 3 years for that grass to take well, the section down below. So it does take a while for those grass sections to catch, so to speak. And this one was the first time we did with sod too, and I don't know, looking back, if that was the proper answer or not. But yeah, well, I can certainly give council a price on putting the interlocking brick there. Really, if we're doing the interlocking brick there too, one spot to look at that might be on the back side of the sidewalk where the decorative lights are, like a 2-foot strip up along there. Just in case, God forbid, we did run into issues with our electrical wiring down the road. So that might be an option for council to look at too. So I'll get prices on the interlocking block. If from my recollection, the interlocking block compared to the concrete cost is at least double, I believe. I'd have to check to make sure, but I can get that. Okay.
The block would look good up along underneath the sidewalk, but how would you end it? You'd have to put something out beyond that.
Yeah, we'd almost have to do a curb, Dave, I would think, wouldn't we?
You'd almost have to do a curb out there to run
hold
up
it.
against.
Yeah.
To hold it there somehow.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, because if you ever did have a problem with the wires, you could take them out.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's as simple as just running a steel bar up between each of those posts on the railing. I don't know if it's that simple or not. It may be.
I don't know. I doubt it. It's quite a span.
Yeah.
Pressure's going to push the steel bar. It'd have to be some sort of angle bar or something.
Yeah. Oh, sounds good. So the next ones for the green space project. Oh, Marianne, did you have something?
No, I was just on mute saying, why don't we go on to the next page? Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So the green space project, I had some correspondence with the Glen Group. I was hoping to have something back today. If not, I'll check my email later on. I don't know if the Rotary Club meets tomorrow, but as soon as I get it, I'll fire that out to the Rotary Club and people on the committee. It's their first working draft. So hopefully I'll have that soon. We're waiting on plans for a water and sewer line extension in the industrial park. Waiting on some drawings from the surveyor on elevations so we can get the materials ordered for that and the manhole pieces that we need. And we're also doing a power line extension in the industrial park for the new building that's going up. And we have a transformer out to tender to service that building. Now with the municipal plan update, with the change now to the yellow phase, we may be able to move forward with that. But then of course, unfortunately, it's coming into summer, so council will have to let me know what do you guys think? Is that something we put off till September? Or do we try to do something over the summer? And also on our mapping project, the training that we had scheduled for that, that's for mapping all of our town facilities and infrastructure. That got postponed, of course, with the COVID outbreak. So we're looking to get that rescheduled. So any comments on those 5 projects or questions?
The water and sewer line extension, is that for the APD also?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, no other questions? See, the mayor's nodding, so I can move on to the next one. And the last one, the SCADA system improvements, those are now probably 90% complete. We just have some minor adjustments to do. We're looking at work over the lagoon, the connection to the to monitor the effluent flows at the lagoon facility. Very pleased. We had a conference call today. There's I believe 9 municipalities, as I mentioned to council, that we're working on an EV charger program. We had a tender out for suppliers for the communities. We had 9 companies tender the chargers. The committees narrowed it down to two possible providers. And hopefully that decision will be made in the next 10 days. I had a meeting at our hospital this week about possible putting one on a location there. Looks very favorable to that, to installing one at the hospital. So the 9 companies bid on, I believe it was approximately 110 chargers to be installed in the different communities. So so that's a great project to be part of, and we may have some additional chargers available for use that we might be able to either do more in our community or perhaps share with other municipalities in our area, perhaps. Rand's giving that the thumbs up. So the high-speed internet, we're working on a different proposal. This is one of the proposals that sort of got dropped with the COVID thing. We're just starting to get going, doing some research on high-speed internet options. Had several meetings. We're still waiting on a response from Alliant on the possible partnership there where we could offer some type of community high-speed internet service. So hopefully once things get more back to normal, we'll do some more work on that file. And that's one thing that the pandemic has highlighted is the need for high-speed internet in all communities in New Brunswick, especially the rural communities during this time. I know a lot of people have found some service delays in their service at home and in their businesses and things. So I'm assuming it's put a stress on the provincial system, let alone delivering the high speed to the rural areas also. So I think it's certainly a critical time for the union municipalities to step up and maybe continue to support access to high-speed internet in all communities. And the last thing I had on this chart was the economic development policy, and I'm very pleased that we are doing our first agreement with a developer on the project in the industrial park for those incentives. And I guess just where everyone remembers that that policy consists of incentives on discounts and discount/rebates for construction of new buildings or expansion of existing ones. And it's based on a percentage of the property tax assessment increase and also discount on the water and sewer fees for that building over a period of 4 years. So hopefully those will continue, and this first one will be a great experience, and other people will realize the great benefits of doing business and building in Perth Andover, and hopefully we'll get a lot more to come.
Okay, thank you. I'll just see if any councillors have anything they'd like to ask or say about what we've just seen. Okay, that's a lot going on, and that's a lot going on. So thank you for all the work on these different projects, and thank you to the staff who are moving things along. And we can go on now to item 6, correspondence.
Yes, I included in your kit the RCMP report. It was in the mail. I don't have it in this presentation, but that was sort of an update. I don't know, Dave, if you had a chance to read that. I believe Mayor Bell sent that to me.
Yeah, no, there was, well, obviously there was no meeting, so the one correspondence I have is what's there. Talk to anybody about it. The dates are, and referring March 31st, so. first quarter.
There's some interesting conversations going on in Canada and the US about police services right now. So we receive pretty good service from the RCMP, but a lot of communities are looking at doing things quite differently. So we'll see if that takes us in a new direction at any point.
They'll get
If
themselves
there's
to do.
no questions or comments there, we will go on then to the Service New Brunswick offices.
Mary, I didn't have a correspondence for that. I knew it was discussed and you'd sent correspondence previously
Yes.
on that. I didn't know if you had a.
Yeah, so I sent an email to the mayors of Florenceville, Bristol, and Plaster Rock on May 29th. And the mayor of Florenceville, Bristol did write a letter to the premier as well. I didn't hear anything back from the mayor of Plaster Rock. But definitely the information that I saw, I believe today, was that, and I heard it previously in another meeting, that they are not planning to, there are no plans to open our office. All the offices that are open right now are the one, that's all that they're planning to open. We don't know the nature of the decision not to open ours, whether it's a postponement. I asked about it at Union Municipalities, and they said, oh, they're really excited about how many people are doing things online, and that's the solution that they're really celebrating. So they're not really hearing, and that's the kind of the response that I got from the minister too. So I'm not sure if they're, I think they're maybe not trying to hear that we're saying, wait a minute, people are having to drive out of town half an hour usually to get the service they need. So that's a problem. If anybody has, Sheila, you have something to say?
Yeah, my understanding of that was from that UMNB one was that they were looking at this being the status quo and that, you know, people can do things online. And I pointed out the lack of, for some people, the lack of good internet connection, and also the fact that for the many people can't drive that distance, and the services just, they're not being served. We could also suggest that maybe they'd like to pay for our high-speed internet that we want then, if they're going to insist that we do things online.
Thank you. Jason?
Well, yeah, and it's not just on that side of it too, right? Those are local jobs. That's local revenue from the rental of the office space. But also, yeah, people are doing a lot of stuff online, but there's a lot of services that you cannot get right now. They have not opened up all of their services. There are no driver license testing going on. There's lots of things that they're not offering that they need to offer, and those are things that are not going to be able to be done online. So it's a question that they need to look at, for sure.
One of the things I mentioned in my letter was that they're really encouraging people to stay home still, right? They're not encouraging people to be out and about. And so to be requiring people to go to a community an hour away is encouraging people to do regular managing things in their life in another community. And it's not good in a time of a pandemic. So I sort of sense that the government is trying to focus on how many people are doing things online, whether it's Service New Brunswick needs or whether it's seeing a doctor, and they're trying to say, hey, this is great, we don't really need to go back. But there are some things that can't be done online, or if there's not internet, they can't be done online. So yeah, I'm not just sure what we can do about this. But that seems to be the current situation. Okay, we'll move on to number 7, reports.
Yeah, I guess included in my in the kit there was the report. I was able to get back to our stats. This report, of course, some of the stats are 0 because a lot of our facilities are closed, unfortunately. the stats, of course, the gym is basically down. The consumption's lowering it, of course, at the Civic Center due to non-use. We are getting a little spike in our water consumption, our wells, as you can see, this year compared to last year. So talked to Philip Walker today about getting the gentleman back in to do leak detection for us. We have them come every year. So we're assuming we must have one or more small leaks in the system to be creating the extra flow. So that was just one of the things from that. And of course, all the normal stuff that we talked about, a lot of the projects we're working on included in there. So I won't go through all the other stuff, but I guess maybe some of the politicians in the States, we've been working on COVID, as they say. So that's been preoccupying our staff time. And I would like to say, as Mayor Bell pointed out too, that we are very fortunate to have the staff we do and what a great job they do serving our community, and really proud of them for all their efforts during this time, and look forward to working with them over the summer and accomplishing all of our projects and stuff the council would like to see done. So.
Any questions or
I
comments?
got a question. It's just a mechanical question.
Yeah.
On the water leak, Dan, is there any way, are we able to narrow that down to like quadrants, or you don't really know? Or is it all on the system, the whole system?
Yeah, right now, Dave, it's just that we don't have any zone metering, so to speak.
Okay,
And
Yeah,
some communities do that.
okay, that's my question right there, whether we can tell whether it's Andover, Perth, east, west, or whatever. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's normally, with our stuff, it's normally based on a very scientific approach of based on customer complaints.
Yeah. Somebody got a soggy lawn.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
no, I'm good.
We'll move on then to the fire department report.
Yep, Philip included that today. I guess for our viewing audience that can't see it, the current calls were 16 during May, a year-to-date of 53. That compares to a total year-to-date last year of 59 calls. The current month in May, the 16 calls, 3 were structure fires, 2 motor vehicle, grass forest fires, which were half of, 50% more than last year almost. We had 5 during them. And then the false alarms, 1, and others 2. So in our current calls inside the municipality year to date, 10 inside and 40 outside, and 3 mutual aid calls.
Questions or comments from council on that? Okay, then we'll move on to council members' reports. I'll start. There weren't too many things to tell you that I haven't already mentioned. On May 27th, I had a meeting with Sheila and Jael McCulloch Murphy, who is the consultant who's working on the trail project. That's that project that originally started off as a $9 million project between kind of Grand Falls and Woodstock, and we ended up focusing on a Heartland to Florenceville piece. Anyways, it's gone back to the RSC for now, and so I had a meeting to help Sheila get up to speed on that, where she would be talking about it at the Regional Service Commission. I've been going to some webinars that have been about the province of New Brunswick's economy. So I was alerted to this from the mayor of Sackville. So I attended one on fiscal realities in the province, one on regional collaboration, and one on the economy. And the ideas, this is kind of a Chamber of Commerce type crowd. I don't know who the other participants are, but some of the ideas that they're talking about, and I think these are the ideas that maybe some of the lead drivers of the thinking in the province, they're talking a lot about growth is happening just great in the cities in New Brunswick and not in the rural areas. And they were saying the economy New Brunswick is challenged, but it's really, the cities are doing okay. The cities in the province are doing as well as any other cities anywhere. So it didn't sound pro-rural, to say the least. And And they did have Jean-Guy Finn, who I believe wrote the report that recommended the regional service commissions a few years back. And they had a whole meeting on regional collaboration. And the other guests were talking a lot about how people in LSDs need to be supporting what's happening in the municipality. And again, it was about how they need to streamline the number of municipal governments and so on. Anyways, some interesting ideas, and I always put in a question or two, and my questions don't get picked up, so whatever. And then let's see. There was a zone meeting for the Union of Municipalities via Zoom. Oh, I wanted to just tell you a few things about that. So we talked a lot. So Ryan Donaghy, who's the Assistant Deputy Minister of ELG, he spoke a little bit and answered questions at the zone meeting. This was on June 4th. We talked about the guidance on different things, and then we talked about how municipalities really need guidance about how to run all these different kinds of recreational services in particular. And the municipalities are mostly being asked to look to sports associations such as Hockey New Brunswick or whatever to decide how to try and keep going with a hockey, a hockey league or whatever. So we didn't really talk about pools, but they talked about the tourism focus being changed to the staycation model. So whatever they might have been talking about for tourism has all been refocused to the staycation model, and Margot Craig is going to be sharing some information about how municipalities can get involved in that kind of a promotion. They said that municipal elections are not officially, but almost definitely postponed until May 2020. The information that Margot has about healthcare reform is that there have been some really positive changes in terms of healthcare reform, such as the use of telehealth and how quickly the people who were in the hospitals needing a nursing home bed were placed in a nursing home. So that's kind of a surprising positive change that came out of the pandemic. And then they talked about the gas tax, and that's about it. And there's not going to be a Union of Municipalities annual meeting in the fall. And they also continued on the different people on the board for another year. We extended that for another year. The only other couple things I'll say is that on June 5th, this past Friday, Helen Miller in our community turned 99, and there was a nice drive-by event, and I brought her a plaque from the village congratulating her on achieving 99 years. And I have been putting out weekly video messages to the community with whatever's on my heart about the pandemic or world events. And if you think there's something that needs to be said at those meetings or at those videos, you can certainly let me know. And that's all. I guess I'll report, and then I'll ask Sheila to just say about some things that you might have been doing.
Okay. I had a meeting with Justine dealing with some rec things, but also some HR things that we wanted to try some experiences, and we're still looking at those. And I did find someone else who might be able to find us more grants for the HR side of things. As Marianne mentioned, I met with the trail project, and then the next night I had the Regional Service Commission, and so there was an option of voting. They were just going to drop the trail project, but it was, how would I say it? It was decided that would be turned over to the rec. There's a rec committee on the Regional Service Commission, of which Marianne is a member of that committee. And it will go to them, and they will look at it in consultation with whatever other group had been working with it and determine what should happen and bring that back to the RSC. We had our audited statements, and we asked about the surpluses that were showing up, and they assured us that next year those would be going into the income side of things so that our fees could be less next year. Just a heads up, Caitlin will be going on maternity leave on August the 1st. But this time they are not going to hire a replacement after a few weeks, then she'll work 1 day a week from home. I haven't got a copy yet of the contract for the recycling. Is supposed to be available, but I haven't received that yet. At the UMNB zone meeting as well, I attended that, and they pointed out, and you probably know about that, Dan, that there's an earlier budget deadline for the budgets this year because of that they're going to have things out to you earlier, and there's an earlier deadline for the budget. So they had that. Met with the Future Footprints Family Center. So they needed just some people to bounce a few things off on their reopening plan. So they will be opening to students to the children on the 15th of June. And they have their plan all in place. And so they were concerned was it's going to be expensive for them to have to, because of all the rules and regulations and that. So, and the staffing that they have to have. I think that's, and oh, yeah, we had a couple HR meetings, and I guess that's it.
Thank you, Sheila. Paul? Paul, do you have anything to report about things that you've been involved with?
Eric, can you hear me now?
Yes.
There you go. The only thing I have to report on is the Elks Club. We got the lotto back up and going with the executive. Has only been the people's met. We're going to have no monthly meetings or anything like that to members or anything. That's about all I have to report on.
Paul, I had heard that the Elks Club was going to be letting its building be used for certain small gatherings and meetings. Is that the case?
Yes, I do believe. As long as they all beat the guidelines under the provincial, certain the 50 people thing right now, and that I know of, because that was the question that was asked at the executive meeting. They have a lot of weddings and things, anniversaries, and some graduation parties, people wanting to book, and that's what they've told them, that they can't have any more than 50.
Okay, thank you. Cindy?
I don't have anything to report.
Okay, Jason?
Not really. Just a couple of things, I guess, in that I saw that we put up the pictures of the graduates on the digital sign, and I thought that looked really nice. And I did my homework, I guess, and went and looked at the retaining wall down by the lower landing. And I think I'd responded to everybody on that email just with regards to what we would look at RCMP building, and I would think that I would like something at the end of Terrace Street. Other than that, nothing.
Okay, thank you. And Dave?
No, I'm good, thanks.
I did have a question about just talking about the graduates that Jason mentioned, about the drive-through parade idea. And I've had at least one request. Well, I had a request about a drive-by gathering for Mrs. Miller, and I had said if it's all vehicle spaced, that would be fine from what my understanding was of the regulations. But does the village has the village received the request of the staff about like a prom parade type thing?
Yeah, typically for us, all parades typically are on the provincial designated highway. So typically parades like that, especially like the walking parades, we've always suggested that they contact DTI for permission, because the municipality is not responsible for the main streets in the community.
Okay.
But having said that, I don't believe that DTI or any community now is frowning on these prom parades or things like that that are done in vehicles.
You think they're not frowning on it? You think they're just whatever people want to do is they're letting?
I believe so, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Jason, you would like to say something?
Yeah, I would just say too that the province or the education department, whatever, has like nothing to do with any of the proms that are going on. They've said we can't have proms. So the parades and stuff that are being organized are not by the school. They don't have any connection to the school. They're being organized by families.
Okay, good. Thank you for clarifying that. Someone who was talking to me about, oh, Sheila, go ahead.
I understand that on the days that they're having the small graduation ceremonies with the 5 students at a time, that the road into by the school and everything like that will be closed, and you can only get in through with invitation.
Yeah, there was some discussion, Sheila, in our office about that. One of the concerns that we had was if they're shutting off School Street from Fort Road by using that gate, that would cause some issues potentially for people pulling down in there, getting stopped, having to turn around. How would they do it? So we suggested to the school that if they're going to block it off, to move it up more by the basketball courts where people could have an area to turn to go back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to talk about an idea that one person was saying for a prom parade. What if it was not a parade down main streets? What if it was a drive all around the community, driving through every little neighborhood, every little street that they could, on Andover side, on Perth side, and nobody was gathering any particular place. What I've read in other locations is that people just stay in their own house, in their own yard, and they might catch the parade going by. I think, like, if anybody could do that with a few friends, I guess, go for a long drive and happen to snake all through the town, and there'd be no problem with that. Someone said if it was sort of a bit of an event that was being hosted, would people from out of town drive into town and try and park somewhere in town so they could see it? And I just wondered, like, can we give guidance or advice to an unofficial group of parents, say, or graduates that say, what if we do this? Like, they could do it without asking permission, but what if they ask for our permission or guidance? What would we say?
The community of Plastock is doing something like that.
And what are their, we won't go into the details now, but
they have contacted the provincial government, and they've got rules and things set up to what they wanted. So the parent would have to call, not us, but the provincial government. Or federal, I'm sorry.
It would be the provincial, I think. Yeah, it wouldn't be that we would be trying to organize it for them. I'm just wondering if we have a role in saying, you better not do that, or you better do this, or that sort of thing. I'll just throw that out there as that was something that somebody had talked to me about for the grad class, and I will follow up with the staff on giving more answers to the person who was asking me about that. Okay, let's move on then from all these reports to the bylaws item 8 on the agenda. So we have nothing to say about bylaws. Oh.
Oops.
We're gone.
There we go. Can you see that?
Okay. So now we're on to number 9 on the agenda, motions and notices of motion. So there's one here, Dan, about our helping package. Do you want to just explain that?
I'm going to call conflict just because one of my buildings is in this thing.
Yes, thank
The
you.
extension. Okay, so Sheila, I'm going to step outside. You just text me when to come back in.
Yep.
Thank you.
I move that we continue that for another 3 months.
Second it.
Paul, you seconded? Okay. Dan, can you just explain a little bit about the pros and cons?
Yeah, this was something council, I guess, put in for March, April, and May. It was 10% discount to all of our general service customers to assist, I guess, to provide some type of break and support during the pandemic. The cost for those months, we felt to extend that for June, July, and August, that the subsidy would be half of what it was during those other months, so.
And
Okay,
again, would you just say who general service customers count as?
It's generally all the business customers in the community, basically. Anyone with all of our small businesses, basically, retail and commercial.
Okay, so that's a way to support the businesses who were struggling with trying to
Stay in business.
continue running their business in this time.
Well, yeah, they can't have the full business running, a lot of them.
Right, and they have extra expenses of
Yep.
this and that and the other thing. Okay, so we have the motion moved by Sheila and seconded by Paul. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion to extend the discount for an additional 3 months, June, July, August, say aye.
I
Opposed? Carried.
I messaged
Okay.
her we're finished.
Okay,
Thanks for finishing up.
we'll
I just
wait.
messaged Cindy so she'd know we were finished that.
Okay, that's good. We'll just give her a second. So Dan, under number 10, new business, do you have anything?
No, I didn't.
So all we need now is number 11, a motion to adjourn.
Oh, did,
Sheila got in there first.
And any media questions?
I'm good, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay.
you, Fran. So our next meeting in July, we only have one meeting as opposed to a committee, a council and a committee. And
In
so
June.
just to confirm,
Yeah, there'd still be one in 2 weeks in June on the 20th.
oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so our next meeting is Monday, June 22nd, that's right. No, that's right, we don't reduce already here in June. And then we have only one meeting in July and one meeting in August. Okay, so we're all adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night. Bye.
Night.
Dan, are you doing your call in tomorrow just from that meeting, just from the office or what?
You can do it from home, Sheila, if you want, easy enough. I was going to call from here, but you can do it from home.
Yeah, I can do it from home. Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay. Good job, everybody.